gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sawagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m., Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besije every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays, 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers, and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are the Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
Are you craving for that special meal that will entice your taste buds and leave you with lasting thrilling memories? Look no further. Spice Island Bulenga has got your answer. Natural, fresh and delicious juice, the best meals. Don't miss our daily specials from Monday to Sunday. Pizza Wednesday, Saturday Pizza Bonanza, you buy one and take two. Come dine with us and feel the experience. We are located at Prime Shopping Center in Bulenga, Mitiana Road. For inquiries, call us on 0704111720. Spice Island, we treat your cravings.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. You're still watching the Hotline Show on this second day of December. The year is 2024. It's a Monday. And of course, if you're just joining us, I am still with Mr. Joseph Ocheno from what he calls the Mighty Uganda People's Congress. And also, I'm privileged to have the Secretary General for the National Economic Empowerment Dialogue, that is NEED, a political party that is trying to bring back money into your pockets. I don't know to what extent they're doing that, but for the last 1 year or so, they have had the mandate of trying to help Ugandans really build wealth for themselves. They believe this is a country that is very rich, but with a people that is very, very poor. In this second hour, I want us to just paint a picture of what is happening in the court martial where Dr. Besigye is being tried as we speak. He has been remanded to New Zealand until the 10th of December. And of course, as they reorganize, trying to get a work permit for Martha Karua, the lead counsel on that particular case, this gentleman is charged with possession of arms. And of course, it's a laughable, I think, statement from Odaka. And I want to ask him why you laughed sarcastically as I started that. But generally, you were in the court martial today. You saw what happened there. Please paint a picture for us.
When you mentioned I laughed, why I laughed was number one.
Yes, sir.
What was in Makinde today was not anything close to court. When I looked at the charge sheet was in the first place. They were quoting some non-existent section, and therefore no offense. That's Kiza Besigye. And we looked at it, and anybody with even elementary legal would really see that's one. Number two, Besigye was an army man, but he retired as a civilian. Now, when you get a civilian and you go charge him in the court martial for offenses that are created by the penal code, then what are you communicating? Are you communicating that you're rendering the penal code redundant? Because there are those being possession of firearm is an offense under the penal code, and the civilian court or the civil court handles that, and it has handled the number. But also the general court martial handles. No. The general actually even the use of court on that thing called general court martial is a misuse of word. It is a tribunal. Yeah. That's why even in the hierarchy of courts in this country, court martial is not doesn't feature. It is a tribunal. It is a tribunal to discipline. It was formed for administrative purpose of men and women in uniform and in the military under the UP. Because that's why it is created under the UPDF Act.
So do you want to say that it is illegal for the general court martial to charge people who have been found
absolutely
in possession
we have had
of guns and ammunition?
Yes, we have had even two. Whatever offense that a civilian commits, he has no business in the court martial, by the way.
So what are the new people doing there? What is Dr. Besigye doing there? What are the 36 FDC members doing there?
It's NRA criminal impunity.
You see, when you read from democracy to dictatorship, they are what they call tools and walking sticks of dictators. And such tribunals are one of those tribunals, because dictators, there are points they reach and think that they may not have absolute control over some institutions that even when they have, they are the ones who establish them, and therefore want to establish some institutions that they have 100+ control over. You know that the general court martial or that tribunal under the UPDF Act is 100% under the commander-in-chief. You know that of all institutions and leadership positions in this country that the Constitution gives as nominated by the president and then seconded by Parliament, yes. It is only the CDF that nobody else has. It is only the president, the commander-in-chief. So when you look at that court, and that court is somehow within the administrative boundaries of the CDF.
Yes.
You get it?
Somehow.
So it is the walking stick of the regime. Now, we have about 2 cases Constitutional Court. One of them, Kabaziguruka.
Yeah, 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
There's another matter that has that is stuck, and today lawyers are talking about going to interface with the Chief Justice
Yeah, in the Supreme
over
Court.
the same thing at the Supreme Court, over the
Yes.
same thing. What the hell are civilian doing in? You see that court by the creation where it is created, the UPDF. Not even a policeman is supposed to be tried there. Not anybody.
Just a soldier.
It should be a soldier. I think section 199, if I've not forgotten. You know what it says? It says that if an inmate has been detained under the General Court Martial for about 6 months without his case or her case taking off, his commanding officer is supposed to release him and make a report. You get it? Now, in anticipation, who is the commanding officer of the new people of SG? Nobody. None is this commanding officer because he's not a soldier.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's why when these new people were there for 4 years, there is nobody. There is nobody who would, yes, there was nobody who would operationalize that section because they have no commanding officer.
How would the president then forgive them?
No, even that. Let me tell you, even that prerogative of mercy, so called by the president, was an illegality, because you know an illegality you can't legalize something brought under illegalities. It is absolute nonsense, absolute impunity. It is just an abuse of power. The existence, that court, if you even see, when we went there as lawyers, you begin, I told the lawyers who are there, I told them, you see, don't expect don't begin telling people about decorum here. Decorum is only done in court. This is not a court. Because you don't want a lawyer to enter with the phone, because now this is a generation where phones are tools of trade.
Exactly, to them.
Because you cannot, all the laws of Uganda, you can't begin carrying. They told the Council Lukwago not to come with a bag, because the lawyers carry their files in those bags. They told him not to carry with. So they want the man to come with a pickup of laws, but carrying. And yet, simplified, we move with the iPad, we move with our phones, and everything is there. So you don't want me to come with my phone, which has those from where I can read. Because if you mentioned a section which I am not, I will open very fast to reference. Now you don't want me to come with that. Number two, you even want to limit General Court Martial. They even limit the number of lawyers. You see, the Constitution gives anybody. Yes. First of all, right to fair hearing. Right to fair hearing includes the unlimited number of lawyers you can contract. General Court Martial wants you to have, because it is there.
I get you.
So there is really nothing about justice being dispensed by that court. Okay. And I will tell you that for me, if I were the Martha Karuas and the Council Ukwago, the issue is not even, anybody who will even say BSG asks for bail from that court will be wanting to dine in those illegalities. The demand should be one. And if you
don't get that bail, you can even stay there.
Let me tell you, the only thing, the condition should be, I spoke to Martha, I spoke to Rukwaga, the only thing lawyers should now be putting across here, drop these charges, BSG is not supposed to be before you.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me come to you, sir. He paints that these court martials are instruments that are used for political persecution. To what extent do you feel his narrative?
He doesn't paint. He says it, and it's true. This is a nonsense. This is a stain on the conscience of my country. And it's a stain on the conscience of anybody who has gone to law school. You know, I was supposed to have returned to do law before this bunch chased me into exile. But Amidst law, then very competitive in my career by 0.2 points, thanks, unfortunately, to the death of my mother in the early part of my secondary school. And in my year, it was the first time they had started using O-level results. And I chose for other reasons not to pursue. But this is a subject of my keen and close interest. But look, so no, this is a police state, is a state in anarchy, is a military state, is a state that operates with impunity. Mr. Museveni has applied impunity since he came in 1986. How long it's going to take Ugandans to wake up, I do not know. It's beginning to worry me sometimes. He applied his bad boy, spoiled kid kind of stuff in Luweru. He applied it during the UNLF administrations. He applied it during part of the liberation wars leading to 1979. Many Ugandans sensibly held back this man. How long it takes, I really don't know. That is going to do it to his own body. Kizza Besigye is extremely unfortunate. And particularly as Odaka is saying, to the fact that actually I think there is a constitutional court ruling debarring this process. Two of them. Besigye should not have been sent there in the first instance. But because of impunity and because of the criminal manner in which Mr. Museveni, checks his opponents, and the manner in which his special trainee boy, Ruto, is also doing it in Kenya, Kizza Besigye, who traveled to Kenya formally and legally, ends up in a Nairobi hotel, ends up being criminally abducted by really basically military states in Kenya, completely unconstitutional and illegally. If Besigye had committed an offense in Kenya, Besigye ought to have been tried in Kenya and go through the due process in Kenya. And if it was something that therefore then went ahead and bothered the Republic of Uganda, Mr. Museveni knows if he really, really wasted our money studying in Dar es Salaam because we paid for him in Dar es Salaam, he should have known that there's a due process. And so Uganda needed to have asked for extradition, as it were. So it's a long process. Yeah. In any case, anyway, perhaps by the time you reach there, maybe the Besigye would not necessarily have a case. After that, they bundle this guy and bring him down here. As I said earlier, no, this is worse than Idi Amin if you consider the manner and level in which it is happening. And that you find the international community, the whole world looking through and people going through on the Dakas down there, it's going on like this. It's shameful. And it's a huge amount of waste of public resources, and we're talking about it like that when I know families, me Ucheno, I know not one, not two, not three, not five. I know families today who are going to bed without food.
Yeah.
I know families in this country who don't have where to sleep. Yeah. I know children in this country who tomorrow will wake up and they do not have a 10-liter pair of shorts, including that one you get from Chikuba at 4,000. And there are many, And so wasting a public resource like this, it's actually criminal. So the only thing is, I think Ugandans need to mobilize, organize, and say no. But because we have in some element of incapacity to do so, these guys basically are generally continuing to do so.
Just a quick one. Besigye has been here on this show before, not specifically but this TV.
Yeah.
And he has mentioned that most of these operations are done to justify budgets. Someone will say there is a certain threat, we need a certain amount of shillings, give it to us, then we shall neutralize this threat. To what extent is this something that you can justify? But also maybe, but first answer that.
Whatever the case, I don't think it justifies this, because they said it, but whatever the case basically is confirming a sense of impunity, that actually this is a regime that basically lives on fleeing people, and they will do so, and Besigye continues from now and again to become a victim. And in Besigye's case, because it's of a particular class and level, and that way, the loss of resources are going to be used. There's some missives that are doing the rounds, including one that suggests that some people in Museveni's security apparatus might have debacled on this, including some of the names that I know, including some of the people with whom I crossed paths about reports and information about Kizza Besigye. But it's a shame. Poor Kizza Besigye. I've told other people, not posting this program, the first time I became personally sympathetic, like feeling like in my skin, was when Besigye was bounded, and I wrote about it, bounded, like a goat, and carcass for hands and pushed into that.
2011.
This is extraordinary. You can't treat a Ugandan citizen like that. And the NRA guys, let me just say, the NRA guys are very lucky, actually, that they do that to a prominent Ugandan leader of opposition, they get away with it. Yeah. And they do that to somebody who's actually a former soldier, and they do it. And the most insulting and shameful thing, if you people don't know the level of limited hearts Museveni and this bunch you do have, that they do that to somebody who was once upon their comrade. And Museveni, really, really, my Jesus is watching, and they do that to somebody who may actually have contributed to saving your life. It is extraordinary. But somebody said that I don't know what you're going to say. Someone said that Besigye is capable of committing this. I said, what nonsense? The issue is not about whether or not Besigye.
The wife, Winnie Byanyima, said that they've tormented their family for the last 25 years or so. Yeah. But can you comment on the amount of evidence that has, when you listen to the audios and such content that really implicate Dr. Besigye?
By the way, Asman,
and many people are believing
you've listened to that, haven't you? I got 1 minute of it. I really didn't have the time, and I'm not quite sure whether it was or him. You listened to it, but in any case, maybe let's wait for that to be arranged in court, because in any case, I'm not quite sure whether there's an audience who's basically possibly propaganda to check onto that. But in any case, the point is this, and I told a major global television network that in the extremely unlikely event, because I don't know, that Besigye committed, quote, these offences. Yes. The bottom line remains the same. Besigye was kidnapped from Kenya, brought to Uganda illegally. Besigye should officially be in Kenya, because I'm sure his passport was not stamped back. Yes. And Besigye is in the wrong place. Besigye is in a military torture space in Machinde. Besigye should be in a police cell, in the very worst case, in Kenya. And because Besigye is a leader of opposition, he should actually be reasonably very well treated. Okay. What Museveni really needed to have done to Besigye, had Besigye been found to have committed these offences, Mr. Museveni ought to have instructed Ugandan consular mission in Kenya to provide Besigye with all the necessary appropriate support. That's what you do to a country, especially if it's a country that is founded by Uganda People's Congress, and we did it for you. So as a nation state, that's what you do. So in other words, Mr. Museveni should not have to comment, meaning you leave the burden of responsibility to the Kenyan authorities to go through that. And in the very least, you advise the Ugandan security services, meaning in this case, police really, and forensic experts, to link up and to see how they can help on that, particularly if you think the offense has got implications on Uganda.
No, if they did the offense in Kenya, I'm thinking that is already the proximity they should be.
No, because I'm sticking to that. The jurisdiction in Kenya, I'm saying, in the unlikely event that there was an association with Uganda and you're concerned, there would be a formal way. Then you can say we provide them with necessary information. Okay. But the one thing that Mr. Museveni needs to be doing to Besigye is providing consular support for Besigye in a civilian court as going through part of the due process in Kenya as a Ugandan citizen.
Mr. Odaka, comment on the evidence itself, but also does Martha Karua's leading the counsels of Dr. Besigye really change a lot?
No, one, from the evidence, I do not want to discuss the merit, what and so on, because of sub judice, but let me say this. I realized NRM, even when they thrive and survive on propaganda, even when they have an opportunity to do some good work, they do it so shabbily. I really love
when
that.
When they cheat, they even copy the name.
You see, when they cheat, they copy the name. You see, you want to, honestly, this age, that's why when you listen, if you have evidence against somebody, so the best way is to go and put it in social media. Precisely. You put it in social media so that You see, these guys forget that this is not even this. Which generation is it? Gen Z generation.
Gen Z generation.
This
Generation
is
X.
one of the smartest generation ever existed. By the way, me in my office, small office, I have an IT section. I gave my boy. I told him, first test this. They don't know people now have ways of testing this, and the thing has a lot of red flag, meaning that is most of them likely to be AI manufactured. I'm telling you, I tested it from my office in Ruvaga here, and red flags everywhere. So even when they have an opportunity to do something better, they do it in a shabby way.
Okay.
You know, that's one. Two, when you look at what Joseph was mentioning, you see, you know Jamiri Mukulu,
Yes,
when he was arrested in Tanzania.
exactly.
Jamiru Mukulu, there was a court to process the extradition order.
Exactly. It was done.
And it was done.
Yes.
Jamiru
Step
Mukulu,
by step.
who is a rebel,
Yes.
known, charged with terrorism, murder, and all those. So what was that agency that it could not allow these people take the due process of law to get Vestige here, if indeed he had committed the crime here? Three, you see, all whatever...
You can also intertwine it with the FDC members because...
yes,
it's
of
the
course,
same
of course.
kind
For
of
now it
story.
is Vestige, but you see, the whole thing is just... there are many more by there. But people do not know that there are many people who are neither FDC nor Vestige,
Yes.
who have been abducted, and because none, Otieno and me and you do not know them, nobody can talk about them on this platform. Because by the time they go and abduct Vestige, who has a name in that manner, really, do you what do you imagine about many people who do not have names? You see? I always give this example. By the time they beat, torture, and do whatever they can do to people in front of camera, imagine what they do
Without camera.
without camera.
As you conclude on
So,
that issue.
then the last one, you're talking about Martha Karua. I think for me, when I saw Martha and we sat on the same bench to that court, I was happy for one thing. That now, Martha said this when we were laughing and said, you people, I have always been known that this regime is bad. Things are bad in this. This is what she said. I have always heard that the thing, but I didn't know it is this bad. And she did this. She said, don't worry, Ugandans, it is going to end.
Wow.
That's the word the mother said today.
Okay.
So for me, I think Martha's coming gives a new perspective to what we have. At least let those foreign eyes that, by the way, Museveni fears the foreign eye because he's a peg boy of those foreign people. Let those ones also come and see what we have been.
And just for 30 seconds as we conclude this, that talking about it from Martha's perspective, the Martha's et al. For all the last 40 years, I want to take it back again, we're shouting, and the extraordinary thing, apart from Museveni's masters, meaning for whom is Nyampala, meaning external forces, is extremely irritating in East Africa, including in Kenya, where some Kenyans used to say that, oh, we're complaining for nothing because Museveni is a quarter Jesus kind of stuff. You know, and it gets very irritating. So there's a bit of that. But look, in the event that there was a UPC government tomorrow, you know, I would actually take on Ruto. So the Kenyans really owe us Mr. Besigye. We need to know from the Kenyans, and the Kenyan authorities must be held to account for what actually happened to Kizza Besigye. So Martha has returned to Nairobi, whatever happens, whatever happens here, that is absolutely fine. But no, Ruto and his regime have got absolute responsibility to explain the torture of our young people from Kisumu, you know, because I go to Kenya, I resent the idea that I walk into Kenya or walk to Tanzania, and then I feel like a quarter citizen, and I resent the idea that a political leader in Uganda goes to Kenya and gets abducted. So lest we forget, focusing on these ordinary bandits here, whatever is happening in Kenya. And you know, it is completely unacceptable.
Let's then go to the topic of discussion, the Federation of East Africa. Your former leader and was one of the vision bearers of a federated East
It's
Africa.
not our former leader, our founding president.
Your founding
No,
president.
not mine. Our founding president, Uganda. As an can put it, no, Milton Obote.
But when would say Mutesi
No.
was the founding president,
No.
the prime minister?
Milton Obote is the founding father of the Republic of Uganda and founding leader of this African community. And you talk about it from that, as we as Ugandans,
Yes.
non-partisan.
Yeah. In fact, Mr. Museveni also commended him in one of his speeches for
Anyway.
the East African region. 25
That's
years.
it when it is convenient.
Because everybody
When
was
you see him commending, it is absolutely unavoidable.
because I was wondering,
He's up to something. He's up to something.
It was an accident.
said I want to thank Jomo Kenyatta,
Yeah.
Nyerere,
He was up to
Obote.
something.
So,
Oh, that man was sick, man. Did you mention about his name?
I think.
Oh, Bambi.
To check the temperature.
we are still watching the hotline. Sir, 25 years down the road,
Yeah.
where are we as a community?
It's a shambles. It's shambles.
Remember
is
now we are more than even 5
It is shambles. It is shambles and it's shambles. 25 years after the revival of this African community, that a Ugandan opposition leader, a person who within the last 25 years almost certainly may have been president of the Republic of Uganda, if it had not been for some dubious deals in the Republic of Uganda. And that's for the record. That this gentleman goes to Kenya and gets abducted in Kenya and brought here. So that tells you that this community nonsense is not working. Okay? 25 years, Edgar, maybe you might be lucky. I don't know how many members of the East African Legislative Assembly from Uganda you can name. Me, I don't want to pretend I cannot give 3. You know? And if you want to embarrass me on that, like people who do fiscal policy and taxation, let's come back here for the following week. I cannot name 3. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Number 3, I don't know how many people, can tell you who's the Secretary General of the East African community. And I don't know how many Ugandans watching know who the Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly is. And I can also tell you that you can take a university graduate test to tell average Ugandan students, and take away the students from sciences, or we could even general aptitude test across the universities. Today, I can tell you the pass rate will be very tricky. How many countries are in the East African community? Just what we should do in civics. Yeah?
Yeah.
Number 2, the names of the presidents, some of these funny dictators of the East African community, yeah? All of them. And properly spelled. Properly spelled. Okay? I'm telling you, you'll be failing like that. Do you get what I'm talking about?
Yes, I get you.
And by the way, you might even ask, including university graduates, what are the capitals of all the East African community nation states? Including, by their possibility, what is the headquarters of the East African community?
So you mean
Edgar, am I talking to you?
Yes. What you're saying is actually true. It's true.
So that is, after how long? 25 years, extraordinarily. But young man, let me tell you this. Before this bunch came from the bushes, and even as the community was just collapsing and I was a little boy in primary school, granted, there were 3, so some guys will say for statistical reasons, maybe that's the more generous just for things, Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. But interestingly, at the time, an average Ugandan primary school kid could count the list of all ministers, cabinet ministers in Uganda, and will tell you all the key positions in Kenya and Tanzania.
Yeah.
And then, as part of civics, we could tell you about the East African Common Services organizations that existed, whether it's transportation, airways, industry, headquarters for harbors, headquarters for railways, and headquarters for research like trypanosomiasis, plus others.
Whose land has been taken?
Whose land? So we'll do those. And Edgar, you can imagine that the community before this one, once upon a time, were moving towards monetary union.
Yeah.
And 25 years today, I repeat, BCJ is abducted. And 25 years today, you may not necessarily travel easily to many of these African community countries with your national ID.
You can't travel to every East African
Not
country.
all of them.
All of them.
So
with just a national
I'm saying you may not. Because you may get, I don't know whether you can walk in the Congo border, Rwanda border, kind of, some of them, yes. But I'm talking about, I'm telling the complaints that you get from people in terms of how people are being treated is crude. And I don't know how many of them you can go and live freely and work.
Ochino, aren't you using a negative light or a negative side of this, or a view of this particular issue? Because one would say there is now free mobility of human capital. You can move from here and work in Kenya. You can travel with the national ID.
Do you know my other middle name?
Also free mobility of trade. You can export and import. And you're trying to just not look at the achievements that these guys
you're a young, fantastic journalist, and I always like you, and I pray you continue growing. But I want to tell you that one of the most senior journalists in a very big media house, may this one grow, actually calls me the #1 optimist of UPC. And he also calls me the #1 optimist of this country. Because part of my slogan is, this country is better. I mean, it's possible. I believe in better. So I am an absolute optimist. But guess what? Like Thabo Mbeki, I am an African. And so I live what I'm telling you. So young man, no, there is nothing simply crude about this continent that I don't want to pinch, break, and broke and burn. I am completely an impatient Africanist. So you're not accusing me. So to suggest that I am talking gloom, no, I am talking excess despair. How a bunch of illegitimate men, predominantly, have come and broken the hope of our founding parents for East African community. So, no. The community expansion was done too quickly. The community expansion was done to serve the interests of Museveni plus a few of their friends. The community expansion was done in part to rack for gold. The community expansion in part was done to guarantee particular security interest. The community expansion in part was done to expand its sphere of influence on behalf of Anglo-America. The expansion was done, not because of the founding values. No, and it has never been. It has never been. That is why nobody can explain to you why Somalia is a member of this African community and what broadly it brings. Nobody can explain to you what South Sudan brings, apart from being our neighbors and brethren. Nobody can explain to you that. And by the way, nobody can tell you what especially Ugandans get from the South Sudan today as a member of the East African community, which it could not. No, couldn't they?
Okay.
Couldn't they? And in any case, I talk about South Sudan because we, Uganda People's Congress, we're first enablers of SPL in 1983. Lest people forget. And Congo, no, we got Idi Amin, because of Britain and Israel saying not to us because no, because these are our people. We are desperate. Just in 30 seconds. Yeah. We are absolutely desperate to have the United States of Africa.
Yes.
And in fact, those of us and our founding parents who were saying start with Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania to build this African community, they were desperately seeking to strengthen this open and expand structure.
Exactly.
But no, the thing has lost
course.
That's what Mr. Museveni now it has no leadership. The people whom we have now are rulers who are pushing their agenda. In others, they are breaking the possibility of the realization of a genuine East Africa.
When I come back to you, I want you to comment on now Ruto being the chairperson and the leader of the East African community. Person that you are demonizing.
I'm not demonizing Ruto. I'm just holding Ruto to... Ruto, the man under whose hands basically was...
Exactly.
All right.
That one is the one, the new leader. Odaka, 25 years down the road. He paints a very oblique picture. But for me, I look at, there's something that is really working. What do you think about, what's your assessment of the 25 years of this federation?
I was almost turning the interviewer by asking what is that is But secondly, we can get to...
Whenever which should be smiling now.
Secondly, what my senior brother was talking about, and you said is bedeviling Ruto. Honestly, does Ruto need to be even bedeviled to be... What really? You just
The
mentioned
man's
Ruto.
first tenure. And
You just
you're
mentioned
throwing
Ruto,
stones.
and somebody will tag a name. There are those who call him Zakayo. There are those. So leave the man to do his work. But you see, people normally want to accuse us, and I'm meaning us, including my brother Joseph there and so on. That you see, you people, you can't, isn't there anything good?
Exactly. That's something I always ask here. Isn't there something working?
40 years, 20
I
years.
suffer with this young man every time. Okay, now also deal.
There are things that are working.
You see,
right in this country.
if you've been in existence for all those years, and you want people to keep scratching their heads to know what has
Your
worked.
achievement.
I mean, sometimes we have no choice but to point out what things the way they are. We absolutely have no choice.
So you're
Let
just
me
the
tell you.
messengers.
For me,
Yes, sir.
like Joseph, me, I do research a lot, I do what and so on. I even know that I have two close friends who are members of the IALA. But apart from those ones, I can't mention others.
You're very lucky. You're good too.
Close friends who I talk to.
Please tell them that I would like to be a friend to one of them also. Seriously.
That's one. Number two, you see, if you asked me about the Secretary General of EAC, now, I will first have to get my phone and search. And yet I can remember a man called Salim Ahmed Salim many years ago.
Yes.
You get it?
Yes.
I think Salim Ahmed is the only one long. I mean, I don't know how many years I was in primary.
Because systems were there. Yeah.
You see? Because they would ask you, Secretary General, and you put, they would ask you this, you put, they ask you.
And
I mean, it was a PLOE question.
Yes.
PLOE question. Me and the Cheno and many people who come from the border. When you go to Malaba and you stand around Malaba, you know, no man's land, we have some no man's land, and you look Kenya, you look into Uganda, one who is there, do you really see something called, because they are supposed to, East African Federation is not supposed to be simply an issue of essay. It is supposed to be issues, one, free trade.
Yes.
You and me know the struggles we've been having on milk.
With Kenya, yes.
On issues of maize.
Eggs.
Issues of eggs. Issues of chicken.
Yes.
Issues and so on. You and me, you may not know, but me and Ocheno there, Ocheno will tell you that he may not spend a week without being told that so and so around Malaba border in Tororo or Busia or somewhere has been shot because he's carrying 2-3 bars of soap from Kenya coming to Uganda. You know, they are being shot every day. Killed, I mean killing them. When you get to ESC, the East African Federation, you know, they told us that even up to now, we would now be going towards political federation. You remember their roadmap?
Yes, exactly. One president.
Yes.
For all countries.
They told us by 2022, we would be having one president. And therefore, all the others, as outlined under the East African Protocol, would be achieved.
And by that time, we would have already achieved the currency.
The common currency.
By the time we come to...
And so on and so forth.
Yes, exactly. I remember.
We have an East African Federation with this one parliament, but with the laws differently. Now, comrade and senior brother was talking about Somalia, was talking about South Sudan. When you go to Congo, you know Congo's entire defense and security is managed by SADC. By SADC, not East African.
No, but these days we've deployed.
No, you remember they chased away the East African standby force. You remember when Tshisekedi gave us...
Why did they chase them?
Tshisekedi gave us 1 week, you remember? Was it 1 week?
I remember the deployment.
And he said, these people are instead bringing here, he outlined his question. He said, number one, instead of enabling the Congolese forces, they are instead using the East African standby force to help M23.
Yeah, I remember they are saying that it's bipartisan.
Yeah.
And that's when he had a problem with Rwanda and I think with Museveni
wherever,
also.
and he was surprised that everywhere where the East African Standby Force are, it's the area M23 were thriving. And immediately he chased them away.
Yeah.
All those areas, it looks like instead of East African Standby Force handing over to Congo, they handed over to I go to Nagana because it's where my wife comes from all the time. Nagana border is almost managed by M23. Ugandan soldiers and M23. Today, up to now we are talking. Go there, you're a journalist. So, if how do you admit a country within your community and another bloc is the one managing their security? What kind of? Look at, you tell me, apart from Ugandans going to sell Bogoya, Ginat, cabbage in South Sudan, which they would sell anyway, even if they were not member of the community, what else? What benefit would one say, okay, at least we have this one because of the community?
Osman, who's to blame? Is it the leaders? That
No,
are
it
not
is the
united?
leaders. So
Is
this
it
community,
the Africans,
this
the East
community
Africans that
is
are
number
not
one,
together?
like Joseph said, it is one to serve the Anglo-American interest. What they called, you remember, the struggle until that country, Sudan, was broken into two, because one of the reasons was that at least to create a buffer for the spread of Islam and so on, the American interest, that in terrorism, what and so on, so create a buffer, you know. The same with Somalia. Of what benefit is Somalia in this community? You tell me. Wouldn't it, if you're talking about Pan-Africanism, you know, until when Gaddafi died, until up to the time when Gaddafi died, and up to recently, that's when we realized that actually Museveni, although he pretended to be a good friend of Gaddafi on account of Pan-Africanism, himself, the words profession from his own mouth, he's one of those who betrayed Gaddafi.
Are you sure?
He said it. He said it with his own mouth, and he said, these people, that Gaddafi was a bad man. Gaddafi was mobilizing cultural leaders, you know, and cultural leaders on account of lying to cultural leaders that you see, you are the real indigenous and traditional leaders on which we could build this. And for him, he was saying he wanted to ignore them as presidents. He didn't know that for them as president, they are bigger than these cultural leaders. And therefore, that man wouldn't, you know. And for him, that was his disagreement. And that's how for him, he went for regional blocks while Gaddafi was building for him, Museveni was fighting the United States of Africa. He said it. So I am not really...
You're going to be fact-checked, sir. The people are watching.
No, let them fact-check. He said it.
So Museveni is anti-Pan-Africanism?
Yes, he said, and he said, these American, he said...
One of his four core values?
I am telling you,
Pan-African?
is it President Obote who said that when Museveni says something...
Yes, Museveni is, you know, according to Dr. Obote, Museveni is a pathological liar who only tells the truth by accident. End quote.
And you know, Boniface Byanyima also said something about him in regard to telling lies. So when he's talking about Pan-Africanism, a Pan-Africanist does not go and do... Do you know that in Congo, other than King Leopold, the Congolese think the other second person who killed them most is Uganda. When you go to Congo now, that's what they say. Yes, they say it is King Leopold who killed about 14 million. The secondary cause of death is Museveni. When you go to Congo. So, the third thing...
What can be done as you conclude on that issue,
see,
but also paint a picture can it be achieved to have a practical East African community?
The NF Federation must not be based on the leaders. It should be based on the people. Unfortunately, the East African Federation was only based on the leaders meeting. And you tell me today, can Ruto Can Ruto, an alliance of Ruto and Museveni, go and come and sell to you an East African? You know what they are saying in Kenya now? In Kenya they are saying, you know, there is a picture which, when you look at it from one angle, it looks like President Ruto. When it looks from another, it looks like Mr. Museveni.
I've seen that one, yes.
But that shows, to be fair to them, that shows an alliance. we are coming together,
but
you know.
Mr. Museveni,
And in any case,
for the
fact that NRA boys went and picked Besigye means that it's one country, you know.
No, but so, Ruto and Mr. Museveni have had a cordial kind of relationship over time, even when you are still deputy president.
But you see, unfortunately, we don't refuse, but you see, it is now proving to be that it was for the wrong reason.
Okay, can we have a practical East African community in your regard?
As of now, no. As of now, no. People need people for now. It is something that I really yearn for.
Yeah.
But as of now, we need to really dismantle, because you see, you can't have a regional bloc, a bloc based when the individual countries are in a state like we have in this country. Now, let me tell you. You remember when Tanzania was chasing away Rwandese? You know, up to now, Tanzania and Rwanda are not very good friends.
Exactly.
Tanzania chased away Rwandese, and Rwanda itself refused to receive them.
Yes. They
instead entered here. Before we knew it, there was an executive order in northern Uganda. People were marauding the entire country. And the next thing...
Are you saying the Banyarwanda chased away by Tanzania from Tanzania are the ones who are now stealing and occupying land in northern Uganda?
They entered here, and they created for them a camp around Ntungam. And after about 2 months, all of them were not in the camp.
Yeah, because Uganda allows its foreign...
Yes, and they moved on towards northern Uganda. I was like, you were in West Nile. I was in Adjumani, around Adjumani, Moyo. You go and see the kind of people who are there. People who don't even know any Ugandan language.
Okay, I get you, sir.
So we need to build, we need to identify practical issues upon which we can build trust. First of all, trust among our leaders, that when a leader tells you something, because right now, let me tell you, people now have the saying of everything born of a snake must have a long tail. Everything Museveni says will not be trusted by any Ugandan.
Same with Ruto in Kenya.
And it was
Kenya,
with Ruto.
Nobody is trusting.
Now, how can you build? Now, where will you build
Lastly,
maybe
comment on Rwanda, because Rwanda is in this block, looks like one strategic country that is developing on a fast rate.
You see, it looks like Rwanda itself, until recently, Rwanda also has no trust in Uganda.
Yes, yeah. We're just starting to fall.
But why? You know,
we're starting to
I thought the Rwanda state is plucked off from the Ugandan NRA state.
although at one time they said it is our 38, when we had 37 districts, they said those are the 38th district. You see, once you have a bully, because at Kagame called Museveni a bully. That's the word he used. You have a bully around here. Rwanda doesn't trust Uganda. Burundi and Rwanda are not good friends, even when they speak the same language and they have the same people.
Congo is not working with Rwanda.
Although Uganda president and the Kenya president are friends, the people are not.
Together.
So Congo does not work with Rwanda and Uganda also.
We have an issue with
so tell me.
Okay. Let me come to you.
This is absolutely not.
As we are coming to the end of the show, sir, how best can we achieve an East African community that is practical in the real sense of the word?
A proper East African community will not be realized under the current dictatorships in the region. The nearest relative stable country, notwithstanding whatever they're doing with the opposition, is in Tanzania.
Tanzania, yeah.
The country that we thought had the rule of law until one of my colleagues went missing. Is Kenya. In the entirety of the East African community.
Yes, sir.
Congo is a fragile country that is basically seeking to survive. Congo is a country under occupation which is literally being blackmailed by bully boys from the east. So this continent doesn't have leadership. It's very urgent. I talk about this very often. And looking through the contemporary leaders really in office, I can't count many. In the whole of East African, I don't know a leader that bangs the table. Paul Kagame is very clear. I've told your programs that you may hate him, you might have your views and opinion about him. He has his very clear perspective about what Rwanda is, where Rwanda should go for him and Banyarwanda and Rwanda. So as a country, Kagame has an idea, and it's not an idea of sinking Rwanda. It may be an authoritarian way, whatever, his way, but that's Kagame's way. In Museveni's case, it's about Museveni, the individual, his family, his few people around him because he doesn't have friends. Do you know Museveni's friend? And hangers on, basically. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Using Uganda. You know, the idea of the Africa project is a big project. Asman, I just don't know.
If we can't achieve ESC,
I
how are we going to achieve our
that's interesting because I'm coming to that point. I don't know how Milton Obote, how Julius Nyerere, I'm counting them, how Kenneth Kaunda to an extent, how Kwame Nkrumah, Leopold Senghor, plus 2-3 others after the killing of Lumumba. You know, there were about 5, 6, 7 guys. These guys were genuinely serious about this continent, and basically they led this continent. Oh yeah, including Haile Selassie, in a way, and Abdel Nasser. You know,
Yes.
These guys had an idea about this continent. They carried clout. The continent was substantially under occupation. Level of illiteracy is still quite high. Communication in terms of infrastructure quite low. But these guys had an idea, had a vision, and they're pushing the continent. And so, as of 63, I'm concluding, as of 63, setting up the Organization of African Unity, if you look through the debates of Milton Obote, look at the debates of Julius Nyerere, and then you look at the debate of Kwame Nkrumah, and then there's one other, I can't remember who, I think I put it off, you know?
Abdel Nasser.
And Abdel Nasser. It is extraordinary what these guys thought they could achieve, but it was extraordinary that their plan B was a functioning plan B that brought us back to the step-by-step progression of the East African community, particularly at the time, because part of the argument with the likes of the Botis was that Southern Africa was not yet free. So basically, what was it? So in an easy thing, that's how we set up the East African community, set up the frontline states. In their case, they set up the Mulungushi Club for specialist guys to push in this, pushing that. But then fast forward the East African community. I know you really don't have the time, but I need to say this. The community criteria for Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania was so solid, so visionary, so real, so functioning, so perfectionist, that actually the European Economic Community at the time picked from us.
Yes.
And British Prime Minister Teddy Heath himself said that. And I've got some other insider thing for another composition. The expansion of this African community, in conclusion of this one, once it was recreated, needed a convergence of criteria in which we had common language, focus for common language, common judicial system, common defense policies, common foreign policy, common monetary union, meaning a convergence of criteria in which the 3 countries, first of all, Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, traditional member states, were set, and then when other nations were coming, you accede on terms, even if there is an observer, systematic, you must have met a certain criteria. Exactly. And I've suggested that in many cases, really those countries need to have gone for a referendum first before that happened. Yes. And that's why I say that a future East African post, Mr. Museveni, this is my position. I would seek to review, break the nonsense about their treaty, review and start with the 3 East African community nation states, you may end up with 3, 4, 5 anyway. You never know, 1 or 2 may come in very quickly. Work out a very clear convergence criteria and start the building blocks from there. Building block from there, but side by side with whatever is happening in Addis. So that really the integration of our people is not about East Africa, but a strategic integration of our continent, but on terms.
Okay. We shall get a day and we shall also look at the African Union really in Ethiopia and how best they have done, because some people believe it's more of a ceremonial body than a practical
club of dictators.
At the moment
some
it is.
are dabbing it that way. Osman, please give us your parting shots as we come to the end of this conversation.
Well, for me, I think really this country, this country needs, especially the young people. When I saw Dr. Besigye in the dock, the man is 60-something. 67 going to 70. But you look at the Ochinos, here are the ones talking about the future of this country.
You've not had young people
It speaks volume about the state at which our young people are.
Okay.
These people no longer, these people, if it is the houses they build, they are not looking for school fees, they are not looking for anything. They are actually not looking, but anything, they are actually living on borrowed life now.
Right now, Besigye does not care about food. That's not
He
a
doesn't.
problem.
You know that his only son is now at PhD level with the scholarship.
Exactly.
So that should communicate to us that we need to double our effort. We need to be. I really thought it should have been a 27, because the Obotes, the 2730s would be the one. It would have made meaning to be the one in that dock. That should have been. But now it is still Ocheno here struggling, going to Roro and so on. These guys don't have any back. These guys. So the youth in this country need to get back and wake up to the clarion call. And lastly, I want to thank all the members of NID, especially of West Nile. I really had whatever in West Nile, Northern Uganda and West Nile. So maybe next week, if you call next week, you may not find me because I'll be Karamoja and Teso.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Asman, and of course, thank you so much, Mr. Ochieno Joseph. And of course, to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in from the time we started up to now. Gentlemen, the minister we have today for security, Jim Muhwezi, says that they found a problem as a generation and they found a solution to that problem in their time. So according to them, they've done what was their ultimate purpose in their time. So as a young man watching me today, what's your ultimate purpose in your time, in your generation? Have you identified a problem and have you come up with a solution to that particular problem? In your generation, how will you be remembered? My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. Do continue sending us those messages at Digitalk TV, then also at the Alternative Uganda. You can also go back on YouTube and watch this episode on those particular entities. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. I'll see you next Monday at exactly 7 p.m. Good evening.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.